right, it's another week right here. Me, Maxx A Mic, episode 4, and it is part 4 of the series of Making an Impact. We've covered a whole lot, and today we talk about who shot Bravo.
Man.
Obviously, we're talking about Johnny Bravo, and in the vein of who shot JR, the biggest mystery of October was who shot Bravo, and we're going to get into that and so much more. Mr. Everything Max Sledd here with my friend, best friend, tag team partner, legendary Larry D. Larry, how you doing?
Hey, man, I'm doing wonderful. You know, we had to get out early this morning. I had to get you up out of bed.
It was a little early.
You were so fucking, grumpy.
Yeah, I'm getting to where I'm so angry. The other night, I got an hour's worth of sleep. I was up and my girlfriend was sick, and I had to stay up with her, and I got an hour's worth of sleep, and then had to go about my daily process. And then last night I didn't sleep very well, and I talked to you right before I went to sleep, and you're like, you know what, man, 9:30 or 10 a.m. And I'm like, okay, great. I can get up right at 9:15. I got up a little after 9 this morning. I look at my phone, and you're like, hey, man, I'll be there at 9:15. I'm like, what the heck, man?
9 is so late in the morning. I don't understand.
Hey, early bird catches the worm, and this man don't put no worms in his mouth. All right,
I was like, how in the hell? Why are you so upset? I'm like, we're going to go to Lexington. We did a liquor run.
That's it, man.
We
used to do liquor runs much later than that.
Yeah, I'm an audio repairman here at the studio. I've had all kinds of shit go on this week, man. No,
I used to be, and my trainer told me, he said, the only person that makes money in bed early in the morning is a hooker.
Yeah. Yeah. The same very guy told me that on the telephone one time when I worked third shift, and I had to work overtime, and I was asleep at 11 when I got home at 8. And he was like, told me the same thing,
Yep.
Same phone call.
It may not have been as nice at one point in time.
No,
either.
it was worded. It was worded a little differently, but I'm not. Even though I'm uncensored, I'm gonna censor how he used to put it over.
Yeah. But so exciting. So how was your week? I know we just came out of another exciting edition of Bar Brawl, Brawl 3, the biggest bar brawl of all time.
Man, it was fun. It felt good. I don't get out on the road as much because I've allowed myself little projects like this and things with you and the bar. But man, when I get out, it's like I've been very selective, and it's worked to the benefit because it makes times that we got out. So we had such a good time Sunday, like when we went up there.
Yeah, Saturday, Sunday, big wrestling weekend.
Yeah, and then we was here at the bar, and the bar brawl was off the chain. I know that you had to leave a little bit early, but man, it was insane. Nick, how bad, dude? Me and Nick was on fire.
Dude, it was one of the funnest nights I've had at Legend.
Yeah, man, it was just a really good time. And
it's definitely a place that you want to check out. Legends Bar and Events.
Yes, sir. Legends Bar and Events, 216 South Walnut here in Cynthiana, Kentucky, right next to SkullFace Records.
That's it, man. And so many big things going on there. Not just the bar brawl. You guys have ladies' night. You'll have 80s night.
Man, we did arm wrestling.
Tell us about it. It looked like one of the biggest events that you guys have had.
It was the first time that we had arm wrestling like that. What I'm doing is I'm bringing different events. There's always that little honky-tonk bars, and it's nothing against that. It's just that's not my vibe. We run events. And one of the things I've always been intrigued by is I would look around and I would see guys like, I want to arm wrestle, just really badasses in the bar.
There's always that guy.
Yeah, there's several that would come through. And, I was like, I'm not going to lie, So I thought, well, shit, what if we just threw a table up there on that stage and we threw some smoke up there and put them lights on? And, man, I was worried at first. Cynthiana is a town where early afternoon, like when you first open, it's like fucking... You know what I mean?
True. I just passed the tumbleweed going down the street.
Yeah. But then you go and you take a trip around the street there and here you are and it's packed. And these people are the most crazy, insane, but intriguing people that you've ever met.
I tell you what I like about Cynthiana is that, you talk about those like Mayberry type towns, but they're also like, hey, if you're from Cynthiana, like you're one of us, and you've got so much local business and so much of like, hey, I'm going to support everybody around me because I want the town itself to be bigger. You've got mom and pop shops. You've got places like SkullFace right here. You know, a recording studio right out. Yeah.
We're amping up. Like we're
got Legends Pro Wrestling Academy.
We're opening early Saturday. The Rod Run. There's a thing called Rod Run.
Tell them about it. Let's see if we can get some
I don't know really myself. From my understanding, this is the first time I've heard about Rod Run in Cynthiana.
I was explained it's kind of like a big car show type event.
It's a big car show, and they bring like classic cars. And so what they're going to do is they're going to park classic cars all down the streets, and there's going to be all kinds of outdoor vendors and things like that. And we're going to open up at 10 in the morning. SkullFace Records is going to open up at 10 in the morning. We're right next to each other. We're on the other side of town, you know.
Come by, say hi.
Yeah, man. I talk with Nick every day, and I'm so glad that we got to like reconnect. Because like this little strip is cool that we've got, and we like see the opportunity of the possibilities, you know, and that's what I like about being over here in Cynthiana.
Yeah, there's great restaurants over here. There's a China place right there. There's a pizza place across the street.
We hit that.
There's a movie theater right around the corner.
Yeah, and they do like ghost tours. Don't you do ghost tours as well?
Absolutely. There's tons of ghost tours in this town.
Where? How could they get up with you if they wanted to do a ghost tour?
Look up the Transparent Podcast.
Okay, look up the Transparent Podcast on SkullFace Records Radio. Check that out. That's dope. I'm going to listen to that myself. Yeah. So what about it? You ready to talk about some wrestling?
You know what? I never stop talking about wrestling. I think you know that better than anybody.
But you know what we got to do first? We got to pay some bills and come back, and then we got to talk about who shot Bravo.
That's it, man. I can't wait to find out who did it.
All right, we'll be right back.
Thanks everyone for tuning in to SkullFace Records Radio. Please enjoy all the newest and hottest podcasts like Me, Maxx A Mic, hosted by Mr. Everything, Max Sledd, and the best hand in the house, legendary Larry D. They discuss life as a wrestler and Larry D's experiences with Impact Wrestling. Don't miss one single episode of Me, Maxx A Mic podcast series, Making an Impact. KPRIS with SkullFace Records presents where Nichimes and Travis Franklin explores and investigates the most haunted areas of Cynthiana, Kentucky. Falls and Power Chords. Hosted by Michael Lynn Watkins and Nichimes. They listen to the best underground metal from all over the world and discuss mainstream professional wrestling. Don't miss the weekly CD of a Week by Michael Lynn Watkins, and then the Battle of the Bands.
Mix Mayhem Music Review.
A fun and entertaining podcast that highlights unheard music from all over the world, being discussed and broke down by Nichimes and Ryan the Lion Lochner. Don't miss the video of the week and all the great tunes on
Mix Mayhem Music Review.
Tune in to Live with Nick Nasty, where you'll hear all the latest news with anything associated with
SkullFace Records /radio.
A monthly top 10 show, and you never know who will be the next big guest sitting in the studio with Nichimes. Live with Nick Nasty. Please subscribe and share. All of our podcast shows are available on Spotify and all major podcast providers. Don't forget about our Bandcamp, where you can hear all the music. SkullFace Records Radio.
SkullFace Records Radio.
All right, so, last week we talked about just how big you were in Wrestle House. You were on a roll. You were the star. Lots of people left out of that, and the name on their lips wasn't Larry D. It was Lawrence D. But hey, now we're back in the real world. We're back in Impact Wrestling. And the one thing that Larry D knows how to do in Impact Wrestling is he knows how to put a guy over. So you come out and you work an explosion match against Suicide.
Yeah.
And Suicide goes over on you. You come out of that and you're back on regular TV and you're in a series with the Rascals. And the Rascals beat you like 2 or 3 weeks straight. And then you guys finally get a win over the Rascals the 3rd week out. Tell us how you felt. What was it like working with Suicide?
Suicide was so fun. You know, it's like you think, like, if you remember Impact Wrestling or back in the day, they would have that. What was the video game?
It was Impact Wrestling, the video game.
It wasn't like Explosion or something?
No.
It didn't have like a name?
Yeah, it was Impact because of the name of like the television show.
Well, anyway, but like Suicide was like the draw, right?
Yeah,
Suicide was like the character that you would go through your story mode with.
Yeah, you had your story mode, and they created an original character to where like any other game you would create your character and you would go down this like story path. In this one, you would create your guy, but you were only that guy for like 3 seconds, and then something happens to him. He's a big star. He gets attacked and mutilated and comes back under the hood for revenge as Suicide. And then Impact thought, you know what better way to tie into that gimmick than to bring Suicide to life. His theme song even said, Suicide comes to life.
Suicide.
And at first they had the big entrance, like he would come out of like their Titantron, swing down. We now know, multiple people. Frankie Kazarian was Suicide. Christopher Daniels was Suicide. A guy that you talked about before, TJP, he was Suicide. One of the Japanese guys that they had come in, he did Suicide. It became like a super samurai warrior of sorts, except for with a little more notoriety behind the name. Now, I don't know. Maybe you know, maybe you don't know. Who was Suicide when you worked Suicide?
Man, I sat there and pondered the whole time. I was like, that's Suicide. I can sit here and honestly tell you that Suicide is Suicide.
Oh, man.
But what I liked about it is like, but me is like, my style is a lot of people think that I would prefer to like hoss fight or battle, these two big heavyweights. And that's not the case. I'm excited about like that David versus Goliath, that matchup, that battle. I feel like I can help tell a better story on that. And that's what I was most excited about when I seen that I was matched up against Suicide. Now, did I think I was going to win? No. But I knew that I would be able to go out and have a great time with Suicide that night.
Yeah. Any thoughts, memories of the match?
No, I mean, I just remember it kind of being the same back and forth, knocking me down, trying to get me off my feet. There was no, like, if you're asking, like, direction, no. It was just, hey, you're going out there, and there you go.
Obviously, like, was there any more, like, leeway given to, like, an explosion match? Because it isn't on the actual Impact show, so maybe, a little more time, a little more creative freedom, anything like that, or it was just the same as being on Impact?
As far as like creative freedom, you got your matches. You have your full creative matches. I don't feel like anyone's like, whoa, pull back there. They did it. Like if you want to hit like a destroyer or something on the outside, obviously they're gonna be like, hey, you can't really do that. But they want you to push the pedal. They want the very best product that they could get. So, I mean, you really just kind of ran everything back by your agent, all your big ups, all your finishes, and I just wanted to go out and do my best. Win, lose, or draw. I knew that I was going to lose, but I felt like it was an opportunity to show my abilities as a singles competitor. With all due respects to AC and all of that, I feel like that was our time. And I just went out there and wanted to get down. That's really all I wanted to do. I didn't never expect to I don't know, be pushed through the moon, because I right away the way that we was booked coming in, I knew that I was never going to be top of the mountain. At that point, I just had to be my best me in hopes that someone would notice. And then, you know, me being me is that old come from left field they wouldn't expect, like, bam, there you are, you know, but I never got that chance, I feel.
Yeah, and then, you know, we had already talked about your feelings about, like, the Rascals, your opinion of them, working with them. You come out of Wrestle House, like I said, you had at least 2 matches with them where they go over, and then the third match on October, it looks like here is the 24th, is where you guys beat the Rascals. Is there any memories of beating them, or was it just a series of matches to you guys? At this time, did you feel like you were doing anything, or were you just aimlessly drifting and winning, losing, whatever? Yeah.
To be honest with you, I did not know. Like, I didn't know what to expect because we lost so much that a win was like, damn, did we just win? You know, because then you think, are they going to push us? Are they? And then you would get a win, and then you would come into the next set, and then you're just back, boom, boom, boom. You just lost. You know.
Yeah. Well, you know, it seems like something that wasn't lost on creative or the higher ups at Impact was, you know, they really saw something with Lawrence D.
I think so.
You know, once they did that, I feel like they started to, you know, create a little bit for you. They started to get a better vision, maybe more so for Lawrence D than for Larry D.
Well, I think what it is like, you know, on television, you're a character, right? You know, when you look at and you line up, you have Larry D, who I love, like that's my guy. I still feel like Larry D is money, you know. And then you have Lawrence D. You know, you have Larry D, who's just a big brawler. You know, come to the ring in trunks, and I've got this chain around my neck. Okay, great, I can fight. I'm a brawler. But then you got Lawrence D, who is all of that, except he's confused on the fact that he's this sexual fucking item. You know, that all the women adore him when he sprays this shit cologne on him. I guess that's television entertainment. But I wish that I had gotten more chance to show an in-ring side of Lawrence D, like coming into Vegas, that second rip around, that second Wrestle House 2, coming into Vegas. I wish that I had gotten like more creative as Lawrence D. I had gear ready, you know, everything. I was ready to go. But, you know, just the moon and the stars didn't line up.
Yeah, and then one of the main things that we're talking about today, and this all kind of ties together, is that on October 27th, they did a pretty big angle and a story that resulted from Wrestle House. We know that Rosemary had used the ring rust. For anybody that didn't see it, it was a cologne that she sprayed, and it was kind of like a love potion or a potion or whatever that brought out the lover in Larry D. It made him into Lawrence D. A lover, not a fighter.
Right.
And she was using you to make Johnny Bravo jealous. She wanted him to want her, to want to be with her, to be jealous. And so she needed you as a catalyst for that. We know that it paid off in the end, is that you had your match with Johnny Bravo. But the conclusion of everything, the end of Wrestle House, is that Johnny Bravo proposes. He gets down on one knee and he asks Rosemary to be his wife.
Right.
And so that leads us to October 27th, and it's kind of the center of the product today, or the show today, and that is the Bravo and Rosemary wedding. Tell us what you remember about the wedding of Johnny Bravo and Rosemary.
Man, it was they had everyone ringside, and here we are. We're now back into the Impact Zone, if I remember correctly, and then they're getting their vows together. They have this nice. I think Dr. James Mitchell was the
Sinister Minister.
Sinister Minister. There was the my man doing the deeds, and you know they come down and Hernandez had his cut off sleeves on his suit, and I remember like his pants ripping. And they were trying to like really struggle to cover that up, and they had to send people to Walmart to get some pants for him. But anyway, the lights drop as they are going in for the kiss, and then you hear pow, and I believe that's when we go off air. And who shot Bravo? And it's like, wow.
Yeah, I remember a very overacted Tommy Dreamer with the big scream, and it faded out. Now that it turned a lot of people off. I remember one particular person, Jim Cornette, decided that at that point right there, he had just started rewatching Impact to give his opinion of it, and he said that was the moment he decided he would never again, for any reason, it didn't matter if you said Flair and Steamboat was the main event, he would never again give Impact the opportunity to make him feel that way. And a lot of people, that was the moment they said, all right, this is a soap opera, this is a show. We had talked about sometimes people take it a little too serious. At that point, Impact wasn't taking themselves too serious, and they were just trying to do a little something different. What was your opinion of what you guys were doing at the time?
I don't see it that way. Thinking back now, being out of contract, not working there, and being able is. I mean, you think about it. They could have done nothing with us. They could have left us at home. They could have went on to Slammiversary with the new talents that came in, and they could have pushed everyone outside of like Rosemary and Taya, and obviously there was maybe 2 or 3 or a handful that taped to Wrestle House that had to double that hard time to go back to Nashville to make the pay-per-view. So if Impact didn't do that, look at all the money that they could have saved. But the way I look at it is they still found a spot for those on the roster. A lot of times people come to me and try to have me find negatives, not saying that you are, but they try to find the negatives in Impact Wrestling in regards to me. And the way that, I look at it is they could have done that and not done that at all, and we wouldn't have had no money, or we had no money in our pockets. They could have saved a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of effort, and been right. They had a pay-per-view anyway and tapings. So, as far as this was something cool that caught on. I mean, people have their opinions of it, and that's their right. I can't say that they are right or wrong, or they don't have the right to feel the way that they feel about it, but, doesn't change the fact that how I feel about it is that it still put food on the table for me, and I'm very blessed and thankful to be able to do that, if that's my honest opinion.
Yeah, and now you were part of the process. You were part of the angle. You were there as a part of the wedding party. Did you at the time know who shot Johnny Bravo? And if you didn't know, who did you think shot Johnny Bravo?
Oh, I knew that day, but I didn't know going in that it would be like turn into like Lawrence D going to jail and like those backstage vignettes where they would bring me in, with the corrections officers and AC was trying to investigate. That was pretty fun stuff.
Yeah, and we'll get to all that. They went from, obviously he got shot, and then it became the big thing of like, okay, now we got to figure out who
now
shot
there's an
Bravo.
Investigation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, while that's going on in the background, there's still secondary things or other things going on in the forefront. You were in the Bound for Glory, Call Your Shot, Gauntlet. What is it, like a Gauntlet Battle Royal?
Yeah, it's like a Gauntlet Battle Royal. I think it's like, 20 men. And then
so many random people. It wasn't just men. I remember Talia Valkyrie was in it.
Yeah.
Because she had a spot with you and AC that I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah.
James Storm came back. He was in it. Lots of people were in it. But what were your memories
Rhino,
of?
I was in after Rhino. I believe if I remember
Rhino
correctly.
actually won the thing.
Yeah.
He got a chance to call his shot. And for anybody that doesn't know, that just means basically he can choose a champion that he wants to face, and almost like a Money in the Bank type scenario. Any memories of that? Because I believe, if I've got it right, this is your first ever Bound for Glory, and that's one of their big events. That is like their WrestleMania, if I'm right.
That is. It's really cool to see like the days of, because that's where you see, you come to tapings on 3-4 days, you dress casual, you dress nice, but like that's like where you would come. You hear the stories like, oh, you got to dress this suit to go to the WWE and this, that, and another, and this is where everyone dresses their best because. It's Bound for Glory. It's the big one, and everyone's excited. And you can see the guys and the girls there early. Everyone's on their game. Their bodies are in shape. They're tanned. They've gotten up super early and gotten their meals in and done everything in preparation for the big day. And we all done that. And I was excited to go. I got there early myself. Even though it was a battle royal, I was just like so super honored to be able to take part. And I just remember how I know in a battle royal, okay, how am I going to make myself look good? That sounds selfish, but I knew that I'm going to have like a little 30 to 60 second window that I get to shine.
Yeah,
you know, I get to
you were
show
one of
the
the
world.
first guys, right? Like you
I
were in
was
very early.
Yeah, I was early. I may have been like 6 or 7 or something.
I think you were there, and Davari.
Yeah.
Davari in great shape. What are your memories
I
of
know
Davari?
Davari was the man. He was an agent too, and like getting to know him, and he's such a wise mind for wrestling, and he helps you understand like hard kick. Because someone like me, even being in as long as I have, it was still difficult. Okay, this camera's here, that camera's there. Follow this. He was really good at like guiding and directing you to those points with what you had. And again, he's someone that's been, I don't know his age, but he looks phenomenal. And he leads by example as far as what you should do backstage. And I don't know him personally, but I can only say professionally, backstage, he looks the part. He has the mind, and he can still get out there and go. Super nice.
Yeah, and like those type of atmospheres or matches, they put you in a place to where you get to work with guys that you wouldn't have had opportunity to work with. You may not be in an angle or storyline with a guy like a Davari or James Storm or obviously you're not going to be in a storyline one-on-one with like Taya Valkyrie. Those type of matches give you the opportunity to show like, hey, here's something new. Here's an interesting chemistry. What are your memories of anything you got to do in that match? And also, who lays out a match like that? Do they sit there and say, here's when you're coming in, and here's who you interact with, and here's how you need to be eliminated? Like, just give us how you felt and what it was like going into it, all that.
Man, I'd say it was just like any other battle royal that me and you have been in, to be honest with you. You're sitting there with more higher caliber talent, I guess you would say.
Anybody that you worked with in there that you were like, hey, this was a really cool opportunity for me, or maybe a spot you remember, or something that happened in the match?
I just remember just wanting to get my shine. You know me. What do I always say whenever me and you tag? And I'm like, man, hot tag. Just I don't care what we do. Just let me get my shine. And I just went in there and I just wanted to get my shine. And then you may have seen the spot with Tyra. And then you have to remind me of exactly how it was. But, I just remember going in just wanting to look good. I felt I went and got new gear. I went out and hit my tan. I went out and worked hard. I've been getting right. I felt like it's coming out of Bound for Glory is usually the start of, the new booking season, I guess you would say. And I just wanted to be my very best that day. I felt like I went in and got my very best out of that.
Yeah. And then coming out of the Bound for Glory, you guys, you've had matches with established teams there in Impact Wrestling. We had talked about the Deaners. We had talked about the Rascals, Reno Scum, guys like that. But now you start to get into an interesting set of matches because you face teams that I would think, I know that you feel like maybe that they had, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it feels like maybe they had given up or maybe there wasn't a direction, but they gave you some really cool opportunities. So on this night, you face the team of Chris Sabin and James Storm. So you have two of the best tag team wrestlers, maybe anywhere, but definitely in Impact Wrestling. You've got one half of the Motor City Machine Guns. You have one half of America's Most Wanted, which is one of the teams that really built tag team wrestling in Impact. Like, you don't get much more OG than America's Most Wanted. So you have those two teams, but you're not facing America's Most Wanted, and you're not facing the Motor City Machine Guns. You're facing, I think they call themselves Beer Guns.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and so Triple XL faces James Storm and Chris Sabin. What are your thoughts and memories of that match? And also, tell me what you think about the Cowboy James Storm and Chris Sabin.
That was that Hard Justice?
That was actually Turning Point. It's really
was it Turning?
Yeah, it's really cool because as an outsider looking in, as a fan, these are really big events, especially when Jeff Jarrett formed the original TNA. You had Victory Road, you had Turning Point, you had Slammiversary, you had Bound for Glory. Very key events, and some of those are still really big pay-per-views to this day, and some are like Impact Plus specials. At this point in time, I believe Turning Point was an Impact Plus special, but still, what does it mean to you to be on those bigger events, or do you just look at it as another day in the office?
Man, well, after 20 years, you kind of look at it as another day in the office, but when you get there and you kind of see the surroundings, you're like, man, this is a big time feel here. This is cool. I was definitely honored to be a part of Impact Wrestling. Still am, you know. But like when you get there and you see like, oh, cool, it's not just a ramp and the Tron now. It's got like, you know, these garbage cans or these barrels, and they've got caution taped, and you see that they've made a set to say, you know, it makes you feel good. But that particular day, I remember anything most. I feel like I had an opportunity to talk on the mic. I had a backstage interview, and as AC and I and Saban and Storm came, and we all done a little backstage, and I just felt like I really hit a home run, you know, and going, I was really confident because I started getting myself together. I felt good about my body. I felt good about my body of work. I felt good about my position. Like, hey, now they've seen me progress from, you know, coming in here to where I was at, to the work that I've put in. Now we're getting an opportunity with high class talent here, and, you know, win or lose, we win, I feel, in that scenario. I feel like we get to go out there and show that we can work with the guys that have been there. You know, I just felt real good coming into the match itself, yes. The match was good. You know, as far as, you know, you can't have a bad match with James Storm or Chris Sabin, I feel. You put both of them on one side together and you create one super machine that helps people on television get through to the end of their segment. I wouldn't ask for anyone outside of James Storm and Chris Sabin because they're such kind individuals, and they know the business through and through, right? They know for someone like me that is talented, someone like AC that is talented, but we might be a little overzealous and we might want to do something that's not necessary at that point. And they're like, hey, let's do it here and do that there, or we don't really need that, you know? And it makes sense. You understand it. For me, at least, every time that I experienced anything with those two guys, I always came out with more knowledge.
Yeah, and you have a pretty close friendship. I've seen it firsthand with James Storm. What do you think about James Storm? What do you like? Give me your opinion of the Cowboy James Storm and your friendship.
I love James Storm. I think that he's one of the most kind individuals I had met, and it was really funny. We knew each other, but we just kind of like Jake Chris. We knew each other, but we didn't know each other. And we had, you know, a couple mutuals that we were really good buddies with, right? So you're good buddies with Nick. I'm good buddies with Nick. I don't know you. You don't know me. But, hey, how are you? Did we just become best friends now? You know, one of those type things. But I remember just being down there, and Cat Harris came and was just hanging out at the tapings, just saying hi. And he was like, come talk with me and Storm down in the lobby, you know. And I never was one to, like, go out and hang out and drink beer in the lobby, or, you know, hang outside at the hotel parking lot or whatever. I just say hello, do my job, and go take a shower, call the kids, go to sleep, right? Or watch television. But I went down and I sat and caught up with Cat Harris, and in the process, James Storm and I had talked just like I had known him for, you know, 20 plus years. And man, just from that day forward, after Cat Harris was even not there, we'd still be buddies and talk and, you know, just shoot the shit all the time to where we're real good buddies now. You know, I talk to him quite often, actually.
Yeah, he came in. He was a big part of our event for Generation Next Pro Wrestling. We've seen him a lot on the road since then. We saw him up in Indiana at the convention that we were there for, and just a really solid guy. I've got to know James Storm through you and through our interactions at Generation Next Pro Wrestling, and man, the stories that guy tells. And once you get to know him, I remember the first time that, and I don't know if it's the first time that you met him. The first time I met him was he came to the Mount Sterling Garage. We used to call it the MSG.
Okay.
It's where the MWA had moved when we first went to Mount Sterling. And Cat Harris was there, and he was doing a little thing with my trainer, Chris Hayes. And they wound up doing a tag match to where Cat Harris had to have a partner, and he brought James Storm out. And this was at the height of America's Most Wanted. And he was there, and he was very quiet, very to himself. And, you know, I think it's just mainly because he didn't know anybody outside of Harris, you know?
I don't even remember that. You
yeah.
know?
And then to meet him now so many years later after he's became, you know, a former Impact heavyweight champion, and he's done everything he's done. Great guy, down to earth. He doesn't know how famous he is.
Talk about the climb, right? You know, I mean, that guy, he's done a lot, man.
Yeah, and somebody else that's done a lot is some of these sponsors. So we got to make sure that we hit these commercial breaks, and we'll come right back and we'll talk more about who shot Bravo.
All right.
All right, we're back. Man, I tell you what, I love those sponsors. I sit there every week, and I make it a point that I sit there and I watch all of the commercials. Do you watch the commercials whenever you are on YouTube? Do you usually skip ads?
Well, I try to skip ads, but
not on this podcast.
not
right?
on this podcast.
Maxx A
I
Mic, those guys over at SkullFace, they got some good stuff.
I'm so used to skipping ads at the bar when we DJ that it's just like second nature now.
Man, I tell you, you got to get with Nick. They've got some
I
really
know,
good like music,
got
merchandise.
some records. I'm here looking at all these like selections of CDs, and do you know what's really cool about this place here? Is Monday, right? My daughter Autumn, right? It was her birthday here recently, and she wanted an electric guitar. We know absolutely jack shit about music as far as playing. Well, Nick offers lessons over here at SkullFace Records, and Monday.
Oh, she was so excited.
She got out of school and came over here at 6:00, and he had her playing a fucking song by the end of it.
Yeah,
you know?
there was. I can't remember now, but there was one song that she said she came over here, and Nick just showed her what was possible. Oh, that's something that's really cool. Is like he showed her something that was possible, something that she could obtain. And she was so excited to be able to play this song and to get what she obtained. It reminds me a lot of what we do over at Legends Pro Wrestling Academy. You know what you want. We show you the possibilities, and we help you get the most out of professional wrestling. We help you to be the very best you possible and to get everything out of professional wrestling that you want to get out of this business. I hope that everybody reaches us over on Facebook, Twitter, wherever your social media needs are met. Come over and see Legendary Larry D, see Mr. Everything Max Sledd. If you're at a live event, that's how I did it. I went to the MWA. I stayed after the show. You know, there's always that fan that sticks around and you're like, God, they got to get out of here. And I just waited for somebody to come up and say, hey, man, you got to get out of here. And I said, before I leave this building, I need you to tell me how I get into this business, because it wasn't common knowledge. There wasn't people saying, come to my academy, come to my school. And I saw Tuffy. He's a very great professional wrestler in this area. You know who I'm talking about. Some of these people may not. Look him up. And he came up to me and he said, you see the hotline up on the wall? I said, yeah. He said, you call that. And at the end of the recording, you leave a message and somebody will get back to you. And man, I tell you what, it was the beginning of a great journey.
Yeah. And
I'm hoping that there'll be similar stories like that when people call and talk to us.
Oh, yeah, I hope so. I mean, we offer every Sunday, man. I'm excited. I can't wait to get in there this Sunday.
Tell them a little bit about, everything that they need to know. Tuition,
right now,
addresses, all that good stuff.
They missed the special. I was just doing it at a third of the startup fees. I was just offering a third, so it was only $100 down and $100 a month. But now that special is over, so now it's $300 down, $100 per month. You're due on the second Sunday of each month. It's that simple. We train every Sunday at 5 p.m. over on Hingston in Cynthiana, Kentucky. If you want to become a pro wrestler, it's just as simple as reach out to me. Same thing. If you see me out, come talk to me. If you know someone that wants to be a professional wrestler, come talk to me. If otherwise, you can send us an email at legendsprowrestlingacademy@gmail.com. Send us a Facebook message over at Legends Pro Wrestling Academy's Facebook page. Again, reach out to you, reach out to me, and get us started in the right direction. And the thing is a lot of people are like, oh, man, money. I don't have the money. It's like, talk to me. I'm simple. I'm easy. I can't do this for free. I will not do this for free because I have bills to pay with my children and myself, and we must keep the lights on in the warehouse. But, I'm easy to work with. If you want to learn, I want to teach. I love this sport so much, and I love seeing it's not a money thing, right? Everyone thinks money. It's not a money thing. It's when you see a guy or a girl that struggles with something in their real life, and you give them a little getaway and you show them a little positive encouragement with a little discipline, it's amazing. Like I won't say his name, but what about the guy that was, I want you and Larry to come by my apartment. I want to show you what I wouldn't have if you guys didn't push me, if you didn't let me believe in myself. I'd still be living at my parents' right now. That's why I fucking teach pro wrestling. Fuck the hip tosses. Fuck all that other shit. That's why I teach pro wrestling. We're here to help. I love teaching. I love seeing people progress, whether it be in a ring or in life.
Yeah, you see your goals and whatever they are, whether it's in wrestling, in life, in business, whatever it is, we want to help you achieve that and be your best you possible. And it's so exciting to see those people gain confidence, to gain understanding, and to gain the knowledge that they can have anything they want if they're willing to put the hard work in. And if you really visualize, this is what I want, and I'm willing to do what it takes to get it.
Of course, 100%. That's what we're about. That's what we preach. That's what we teach.
Yeah. So we talked about your match with the beer guns.
Yeah.
And in that, we talked about, as just like a little side story, Chris Harris. Can you tell us about your history with Chris Harris and what your opinion of the Wildcat?
I grew up early watching Wildcat Chris Harris. I got to see his progression from, a very young, new guy entering the sport. He was, I don't know, he had to be in his early 20s when I was watching him there in Georgetown. And then he progressed, and you see him, then the internet, we all start having, remember when we were searching the internet and everything, and, you start seeing him now and traveling around, and then he gets into the NWA TNA, which was a really big deal. And that's about the time that I got in the business, like when I'm my early, 6 months probably and under, very, very new in the business or whatever time frame I'm looking for.
Yeah, and it was exciting
and
too.
And you would watch, you would rent those pay-per-views every Wednesday for $9.95.
Over a year, I rented every one of them.
And I would remember we would watch them, and Chris Harris would be on there, and then I you would go know that he's at the MWA on Sunday, and like he's in shape, and like he looks the part. And this is no offense to like independent wrestling, but like you got a guy that's been there, that's on television. He comes to the you would think like you can tell that motherfucker's from TV. If you don't know him at all, that motherfucker's a guy from TV, right?
Yeah, we were very fortunate that the area that we grew up in, Georgetown, had what was considered like the heartbeat of like Kentucky wrestling at the time, the MWA, and we grew up so fortunate. You don't even realize how fortunate you are at the time to have Wildcat Chris Harris,
what I love
Prince
about
Justice, Rob the Bomb Williams. Like we were going there each week, and it was like you're watching a Monday Night Raw or you're watching a WrestleMania.
Thinking on it now, though, if you look back at like just 20 years ago, you had OVW, which had like they're handpicked and sent to OVW. And that's how they got trained to go to tell like Batista, John Cena, Randy Orton. Remember, they would get these developmental deals.
Yeah, when they were WWE developmental.
But the cool thing about it is that like not a lot of people know, like an hour up the way in Central Kentucky on Sundays, you had guys that are homegrown. Like that's the blood and guts of independent wrestling, of making it, right? You have like Chris Harris, who's in these smoked field arenas. You have Abyss, who's in these smoked field arenas. Guys like that go on, and they didn't really go to that OVW. They didn't get that handpicked. They went and worked their way to the next level of pro wrestling. They worked their way to the next level tier of this promotion, and this promotion leads to this promotion, which has a little small television deal, and then this promotion leads to this promotion, NWA TNA. You see these guys work progressively up the ladder. I never paid attention to, with all due respect, I never paid attention to when like Cena and those guys were coming up at OVW, even though it was right there. It was an hour away. I never did pay attention to the product because I was hooked on what they were doing every Sunday over there,
And I tell you who is most integral to all of that, and that's Roger Ruffin and the Northern Wrestling Federation and the Bone Crushers Academy. I want to make sure that we definitely get a plug in for Bone Crushers, because look at the amount of talent
at everyone
that he's
had
through
that he's trained.
Yeah,
I mean,
Carl Anderson, you've got Abyss, you've got Cat Harris,
Julian Hall.
Wow, I mean
Jordan Clearwater.
Yeah, Roger Ruffin, he has his finger on the pulse of what you need, the tools that you need to be that next level of professional wrestler.
I love the most, and the entire time that I've done business with Roger and the NWF, what I love the most is that it doesn't matter whatever student he sends, they get it. You know, they come in, they do what they're asked. They're helpful. They're quiet. They really cause, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Just they get it, right? You know,
if you're in the northern Kentucky area, the Cincinnati area, if you really want to, you know, make it to that next level, or here's the thing, even if you don't, there is no guarantee for anybody.
Oh, no.
But if you want that understanding and you want somebody that truly loves wrestling and gets it, you definitely owe it to yourself to go check out Bone Crushers Academy.
You know who I think is the next breakout from his camp? Adam Swayze.
Oh, I love Hollywood Adam Swayze. He has been one of my favorites for the longest time. We did so much with him over at Primetime Wrestling. I've always seen a star in that guy, and so very humble and willing to do anything that you ask him to do. Always
He's
willing
such
to
a student
continue
of the
and grow.
game.
Yes, and to get better. That's a guy that if he comes to you and he's a heel, a bad guy, he's always going to get that serious heat. But I remember looking at you at PTW and going, you know what? They hate him this bad. I know I can catch fire out of this guy as a hot baby face. And this guy is versatile. He can do absolutely anything, and he's one to watch.
You know, and the thing is, he's always been super talented in the ring, and he's always a student of the game. But like what I noticed the most is like he's worked his ass off in the gym. Like he looks Selena good as well. You know, his girlfriend Selena. They've really dedicated time in the gym, and they've put work in, and it's working. Like he can be a star. He has the mic skills. He has the in-ring work. He understands when to slow down. He understands when to push the pedal.
Yeah,
Roger should be very fucking proud of Adam Swayze.
Yeah, he has so many guys, and you know, one that you mentioned. That, I mean, look at him. He's getting out there, and that's Jordan Clearwater.
Yeah.
I know you recently got a chance to be on a show with him, reconnect with him.
Yeah.
How is Jordan doing?
Jordan's doing wonderful. I'm so proud of Jordan. He's moved to California, and he's traveling the country with the NWA.
What a great body and a great
And
tan.
he does like all these like physique shows, and like he will do bodybuilding competitions on top of continuing to wrestle. You know, so, you know, I don't know much about bodybuilding, but I do know that you have to, it's a really tough process because sometimes you have low intakes, you know, you got to get everything right. And it probably fucks with your body a little bit. And he goes out there and performs, and he looks great doing it. And I'm telling you, he's another one that I feel is going to be a super big star at the NWA, and then we'll go on to do bigger things.
Yeah, and here's my thing too, is that some of these guys like Jordan Clearwater, guys like Carl Anderson or Chad Allegra or however you know him, the main thing that they preach is bet on yourself. Bet on yourself and go out there and take a chance. So anybody that's out there listening to this podcast, if you are just driving, you know, 10, 20 miles up the road and you think you're doing something, or you're working the same guys over and over and over and you think you're doing something, or you are doing the same character and the same gimmick and getting the same reaction from the same people and you think you're doing something, you're not. You got to bet on yourself. You got to put yourself out there. You're only as good as your next opponent.
I didn't make no money worth talking about until I decided to get in my car and travel beyond 40, you know, what's the old term, 40 miler?
That's it.
I didn't make any money to talk about until I got in my car and I started traveling all over this country and getting my name out there.
Hey, if there's anything that people can learn from this, you know, you say it all the time. Those guys say it. Bet on yourself,
right? Because
there's no better investment you're going to make than investing in you. You know, we talk, if it's good, blame me. If it's bad, blame me. But at the end of the day, by God, I'm taking it all. If we win, I win. If we lose, I lose.
I was taking my spot with Bravo. Who shot Bravo?
Hey, we're going to talk more about that when we get back from this commercial break. Let's hit us with those sponsors.
Would you like to donate money to our cause?
Shit ain't free, man.
This stuff takes money.
Every little bit helps.
We can do a commercial for your business.
You can make you money, and then we can make money.
Want to sponsor a segment or one of our shows?
Want to get famous, man?
Want to sponsor a show?
Multiple mentions, all kinds of publicity.
Email us, SkullFaceRadio@gmail.com.
Don't forget the social medias.
Find us on Facebook, facebook.com/groups/SkullFace Records Radio.
Listen to SkullFace Records Radio.
So that same night that you got a chance to work with the beer guns was also the night that the investigation finally landed on their man. I don't know if it was right after that match, but it was some point on this show that they found out that it was indeed you, Larry D, or maybe Lawrence D, that shot Johnny Bravo. What do you remember about that? You're the guy.
Yeah, I mean, whenever you shot Johnny Bravo, I go to jail. So, but before we get there, you know, there was this segments. They had these ongoing backstage segments with Tommy Dreamer, where he would dress up as like this investigator.
Yeah, like Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, like Sherlock
Holmes. A little
Holmes.
like plaid cape and the detective's hat.
And you know, odes to AC Romero too, because like he really he bought in too, and like he had the same deal at one point, and he was going to investigate to break me out of jail.
My question is the same question that you guys had. What is Tommy Dreamer's jurisdiction as a law officer?
Well, I guess you have to ask D'Lo Brown, who was the judge. You know, I mean, he gives all the power out. So I would say that Tommy Dreamer had all the lawful power at Impact at that point to put somebody in jail.
Yeah, so tell us about all those segments and things, like all the vignettes. Obviously, like you said, you go to court.
Yeah, we went
You got
to court.
D'Lo Brown, and did he wear the powder white wig, or is this the Mandela effect?
No.
Do I remember that wrong?
He wore the wig. He did. And it was so hard to sit there. There's so many breaks in between because so many people just busted out laughing when you should be, okay, now we're on. It's like, oh, I can't take it, you know. But that was a lot of fun. They would come up and they would question people. Where were you? Or the night of? Or what did you see? You know, and I liked it too because a lot of people would probably shit on that, right? We talked about that earlier, how some people didn't like it. But Impact did something cool out of this is, if you remember, they would still take these little backstage segments in Wrestle House that was supposed to be this throwaway show, but they would lead to these in-ring angles and storylines that will go on to bigger things. You know, so I don't think it was a complete waste. But I remember I was there, no, and then someone sprayed the thing, and then I'm down and I'm up, and it was me.
Yeah, the cool thing about it is like the story of the whole deal is, yes, you shot Johnny Bravo, but Lawrence D is the one that shot Johnny Bravo.
Right.
So when you are Larry D, you don't remember the actions.
I didn't know. I don't know what you're talking about.
So therefore, you're honest as Larry D when you're saying, "No, I didn't do it. I don't know what you're talking about." And here is Larry D getting like arrested. Here's Larry D getting brought to court. All this stuff is happening, and in the meantime, it's almost like a split personality thing, and that allowed you to come out of the box a little bit.
It did. It allowed me to show a little bit. It allowed me to show my range. I feel like I got to show with Lawrence D on, in front of a camera out of a ring, that I had a little bit of versatility. I could do a little bit outside of just being big, burly Larry D brawler.
That's it. And also, you had those T-shirts made up, free
boom,
Lawrence D.
boom, they went, And I had those 8x10s, and people was very generous and kind, and they loved the Lawrence D stuff. It got over. I was really worried about it. Like, I don't know how I'm gonna do this, and even though it was uncomfortable to do, I still enjoyed it, because I'm one of a challenge, and I knew that it was a challenge to do that. But I felt like it had potential to be something really cool. It also gave me the opportunity to get to work with Tommy Dreamer on a one-to-one basis, and I got to go into a pay-per-view with Dreamer, which actually, that was the match that sent me to jail, if you will remember correctly. I guess they had, even though they had proven without a shadow of a doubt that Lawrence D had shot Johnny Bravo, I still had an opportunity to go on to a pay-per-view, and if I win, I'm free to go. I'm innocent. If I lose, I go to jail.
Yeah, and that was December 12th, final resolution. You guys, we had talked about it a little bit last show, old school rules, because obviously they don't own the rights to say ECW rules. So therefore, it's Larry D versus Tommy Dreamer in an ECW rules match. It's an ECW match with the innovator of violence, with Tommy Dreamer. Did you ever think that you would be in an ECW match with Tommy Dreamer?
16-year-old me is like jumping for joy, right? It's Tommy Dreamer. He's cool. But he's a man of many hats down there. he does a lot, and it's not like me and you if we're on there and we're on the second match or the 10th match of the card or whatnot, and we have all day to get our shit together. I didn't get to do that with him. He's part of the office. He's part of the production. He's running back and forth agents and matches. He's got to get these backstage tapes together, make sure everyone, he's got a lot going on. And he told me, and if you remember, he had shit on my comeback earlier. And I was like, he hates me. He fucking hates me. And I was just waiting to be told what to do, I guess. And he came up to me and he says, I don't have time to fucking sit here. And this is, yeah. He's like, I don't have time to fucking sit here and go over a fucking match with you. He's like, I'm going to be in and out all day. He's like, I got shit I got to do. I don't got time for this. And he says, come back, get what you want together, and then run it by me, and then we'll see how it goes, and then we'll put it together like that. So all day, I'm sitting there thinking like, okay, what are we going to do? Well, what if he hates this? What if he he's going to shit on this, stuff, because I'm thinking he hates me, so I'm immediately like everything that I feel is like, I could be really excited about something that comes to my mind 1 minute and be ready to shoot it to him when he comes, and then turn around and check my phone, put my phone down, but he's going to hate it. But luckily he would come back and he was digging what I was putting down. He's like, okay, I can fuck with that. And how about, what if we do this here? Okay. And it's just boom onto, he'd come back an hour later, same thing, boom. And then it was great. And we had weapons everywhere. But one of the things that I remember the most is that somehow these weapons was in a garbage can. And then I don't recall seeing how they got placed, but he's done so many and must be so good at this that boom, right there, turn around. This is pretty much in his hand. Boom, where I needed it was right there. It was placed perfectly. However he would sell around, he would somehow place them where they needed to be or whatnot. And the man's really good. And I think I earned his respect after the match. Hey, you're pretty good, Larry D. It's one of those things.
This was your opportunity here to where this is you'd had singles matches. But this right here, you're the star of this angle of this. This is your first big match to where, okay, this is a singles match. You're in there with Tommy Dreamer, and it's your opportunity to sink or swim, and you really showed out. It was a good opportunity and a good showing, and maybe one of the first glimpses of what Larry D really could do.
I got a lot of high praise out of that one.
If let go.
Yeah, man, I got a lot of high praise. Everyone was so excited, so happy. Like, man, you killed it. It was great. It's really good, feel-good moment coming back through the curtain knowing that you wrestled a legend like Tommy Dreamer on pay-per-view television, and, everyone was excited and happy for what you did.
Yeah, and that was December 12th. We didn't even talk about the fact that on December 1st, you got an opportunity. We had talked about, you had been in there with the beer guns, which is one half of each of these really big tag teams. But on December 1st, you and AC actually got to mix it up with the Motor City Machine Guns. So this wasn't one half of each team. You got Alex Shelley, you got Chris Sabin, and some people still to this day say not just in Impact, but all around one of the best tag teams in wrestling today. Any memories of working with the actual Motor City Machine Guns?
They're very quick, very fast, very smart, and they don't have to protect their opponent. A lot of people will take people like AC and I, who was on, they pretty much knew we wasn't going to be the next tag champs. We were there to put them over, but they could easily just bump here, bump there, but they made us look so strong. And again, they're teachers themselves, they're very educated in the sport of pro wrestling. So when you get there, you just kind of want to learn from them as well. Or at least that's how I was, I'm humble enough to know, like, these guys have done this. They have been there, right? These guys know what they need. They know what we got to get to and how to make us look great. And from the time that we walked in, it was never about, we're going to do this to you guys, we're going to do this to you guys, we're going to do this. It was, we're going to do this, and you're almost going to, we're going to do this, and you're going to shake here, you're going to move here. It was all about us. It was about protecting our size and getting that proper story over that they felt they needed in their head, and we got there, and I thoroughly enjoyed that. I got to learn a little bit about timing and everything, and it was real good.
And you talked about a guy that wears multiple hats, like when we talked about Davari, we talked about Tommy Dreamer. One of those guys also is Chris Sabin. Like, what is your thoughts of
and
just
Shelley.
Chris Sabin?
They both were. They had more many hats. Shelley was an agent for the X Division guys.
Well, tell us about Chris Sabin, Alex Shelley, not just the match itself, but your opinion of each guy, and obviously the wearing multiple hats.
Chris Sabin's so nice. He's one of the nicest guys you'll meet. I don't know if there's a mean bone in his body. And he's very quiet, and you get to talk to him, and you just realize, like, man, I wish there was more Chris Sabins out there. And he's very, if you do something great, he's there to say, hey man, that was really good. I watched, even if he's not your agent, he's like, hey man, I watched your match earlier. That movie you did looked really good. I think you should do that more. I think you should think about putting that here. Oh, maybe that should be one of your finishers, right? And or if you come back, hey, what if you did this? I seen you done it this way. What if you made this little switch here to transition there, right? Things like that is what you would get from him. It's never felt like there was ever any ill will towards good praise or good critiques from him. Always super fun to be around. Shelley, he's just quiet, gets to the point. Those X Division guys, I think he's really high on like a Trey Miguel. And he knows, like, that guy could be a star, and I think that he's really good at taking people under his wing that they have the package, and he knows that they can do well, and he sees not for his benefit, but he just wants to see that guy move and do better things. That's I didn't get to do many interactions with Shelley, but the very small that I did, that's what I picked up from him.
Yeah, and this is the really the whole segments that we're talking about. Obviously, you worked with the Motor City Machine Guns, you worked with Tommy Dreamer, and that closes out like your 2020. Mm-hmm. We're getting ready to go into 2021, and with that, like I said, you lost a Dreamer, and therefore Larry D is going to jail.
Right.
So let's talk about that. They take you to jail. You obviously do some really cool vignettes from inside the jail, getting getting, investigated.
Yeah, the interrogation.
Interrogation, yes. Thank you so much. Getting the interrogation from Tommy Dreamer. And tell us about some of those vignettes, how they were to film, and the fact that I can remember you were in jail on TV.
Yeah.
And some fans were sending messages and things, asking you about being in jail on TV.
God bless
even though
them.
you're running independent shows and appearing
on work
shows.
release. Yeah.
That's that was my explanation to people, is that it was work release.
I was down like Murfreesboro one time, and I was like, yeah, they got me out on work release, man. Johnny Bravo's got me framed and this, that, and another. But I mean, those segments were so fun. The most fun is I think the one with AC and I, where he came to visit me in jail. And he had came, and AC would have like either a beard or goatee or something along those lines, all I would remember, like a gruffy little thin beard. Well, this particular day we had this segment where he was going to come visit me in jail, and he shows up to tapings that day, and he has a completely shaved face. I'm talking like smooth as a baby's ass face. And then he puts his sports coat on, and he puts like the inspector's hat on, and he's sitting there, I'm going to get you out of here, and I'm going to get whatever. And I remember they had these students from like Tried and True, and they were so scared to like touch. I was like, brother, you gotta like touch me. Your corrections are, you gotta like grab me up. I'm gonna be like, get off of me, motherfucker, get off of me, But like, we had to take it 2 or 3 times walking down the hallway just because they were like timid, scared to death. So anytime you're an extra, my advice would be like, don't ever be timid. That's your spot to know that you're comfortable with the talent. Like, they can put you in there. They know that you can wrestle. Like, go ahead and grab a hold of somebody if you're supposed to. If you're playing a corrections officer, be a fucking corrections officer, right? But it was fun seeing all that come together, and they made my hair a mess, and I didn't shave, like kind of like I am now. I didn't shave for this podcast because I didn't shave today. But it looked like I was just in some bad, rough shape, bad, tough times, and it made for good TV, I felt.
You know what else makes for really good podcasting? Those commercials. So we're gonna pitch to a commercial, and we'll be right back to tell some more of this story, because I'm loving where it's going.
It's Joe's Kitchen. Buy your stuff from SkullFace Records. Get off your asses and do it.
So you're in jail, and you guys are doing this. Do you remember anything else that would people would consider interesting about just the process of filming that? Did you do all that in one day?
Yeah, that was all one day. That was that. The thing about those is like you would catch those like in between. So say your call is noon, you would eat till 1, from 1 till 2, then you start taping at 2 whenever you have empties, and then they would have match, and then while the matches are going, you might get your agents, hey, come get your pre-tape, and then you go, and then they have, it's just like a television set. You go in, and then you got your tables, whatever your set, whatever you're supposed to be, there it is. And that was a side that I wasn't used to, because on the independents, it's just, oh well, man, you're on the 5th match, go out there and fucking kill it. All right, thank you for coming. And then you might get a video promo, but never do you go back there and there's a fucking set and you got producers and like, okay, here's what's going to happen here, and you're going to say this. It's very important that you say this right here, and you might shoot it 2 or 3 times. Luckily, my segments, they was always 2 or 3 minutes, but I didn't have a whole lot to have to remember, because it was more like, that's whatever. So
What kind of, like, did they tell you, like, okay, hey man, you shot Johnny Bravo, we're going to send you to jail? Did they tell you, like, okay, and it's going to lead to this, or we're going to do this? And if they didn't, did you feel like, okay, this right here is my opportunity? Like, here I am, I'm in jail. Whenever this angle wraps up, it's off to the races. Larry D is gonna shine.
I was thinking like, okay, now once I get out of jail, I will get this. Okay, now he's free, to where I would come back and be on a little tear. I had thought, but because again, I'd started to work real hard. I lost 90 pounds, got myself together, and I just felt like it was time right there now. Now's time. I'm getting my high praise for everything that I'm doing. My work is there. Everyone's big on me. Now I know something's around the corner that's gonna go good in my direction.
Now, I remember you had come up with a really cool idea that, like, you could be, in the prison outfit and breaking out of your cuffs and, all sorts of stuff that could happen coming out of, being in jail. But what we find out is that they really don't have those visions of grandeur, because, yeah, you shot Johnny Bravo, but it comes out that you shot Johnny Bravo because Talia Valkyrie had sprayed the cologne, ring rust, had turned you into Lawrence D to use your jealousy that here's this woman who pretended like she wanted you, and now she's trying to go with Bravo. So you shoot him, and it becomes kind of secondary. It sounds very interesting when I say it out loud, but it becomes secondary to the fact that, okay, now the attention is on Talia Valkyrie.
It's almost like the biggest majority of the show was Lawrence D until it got to the final chapter, and it's like, oh, now you're out of the way.
Yeah, and it was just their way. It was a pretty big angle, but I feel like that they felt the heat off of people being like, this is silly or this is stupid,
right,
that didn't go for the full ride, that just saw what it was. And I feel like that they felt that heat, and it became a secondary way of just writing Talia Valkyrie off of the show. She was leaving Impact. Her contract was up. We know that she would go to WWE or NXT, however you want to say it. But she was leaving Impact. So they used it to where I don't know if it initially was meant to be this way. I don't know if they had a bigger scheme, a grander scale, but she was the reason that you did it. and then the police drag her away. She goes off because she is the one behind all this, and
What
now
was
no
the little
longer.
one-liner? What was a one-liner that Dreamer said on her way out?
I don't remember, but it was all tongue in cheek
Yeah.
to be like, you leaving?
Yeah, I remember.
I think they were sent her
I
to a
remember
jail in
Sledd.
Stamford,
Yeah, that
Connecticut.
was it. That was it. It's like, you're going to do your 5 years in Stamford, Connecticut. Yeah.
Yeah,
Maximum,
she got out on
penitentiary.
She got
or
out on
something.
good behavior. She's back in Impact now.
Yeah, good for her. I'm
and
happy.
she's back in Impact, and you're sitting here with me. So it shows
It's a win-win.
Hey, that's it. So we had talked about it earlier when I told you how we were going to be talking about the Who Shot Bravo, and I compared it to Rikishi, how Steve Austin got hit by a car. And people are like, oh, my God, this is the biggest thing in the world. Somebody has killed Steve Austin with his car. And it's who did it? Who did it? And everybody is going, it's Triple H. Triple H is the biggest heel. Triple H wanted Austin out of the way. Triple H hit him with a car. Triple H is proven innocent. And it comes out of nowhere, big swerve, bro, that it is Rikishi that hit Austin with the car. And Rikishi gets this like small little heel turn, but ultimately it's because Triple H asked him to do it. Let's get our attention back on Triple H. He's so awful.
There you go.
He's behind Steve Austin getting hit by this car, and then people forget the Rikishi thing, and a couple months down the road they just switching back to
being old dancing babyface.
Yeah, dancing babyface, backing his ass up on people, and it's kind of like that. All this attention,
It really is.
All this possibility, and now, Taya's gone. Let's let you out of jail and on to the next one.
Yeah,
and I'm not sure they ever referenced it again.
I don't think just up around Wrestle House 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because Lawrence D does make his return.
That was it.
We're into 2021, and they do continue at least with a little continuity because you continue your battles with Decay because they are, they're still upset with you. You're upset with them. They just had you unfairly incarcerated.
Yeah.
It turned, a part of the storyline was that, obviously Rosemary was a part of
I think I had a few good matches with Crazy Steve in that little rip after,
Yeah,
though.
yeah. Crazy Steve, and that's about the time that, obviously Abyss is gone, so they need to fill out Decay.
And Black
And they
Taurus.
bring in Black Taurus.
He's super talented.
Yeah, him, Black Taurus, Rosemary. You've got the new Decay, the family of
Is
Decay.
Black Taurus still there?
Yes.
Is he?
Yes,
Good,
off and
good.
on. I know that he also does like AAA
Yeah.
shots and all that, but he is still there. You don't see him and Crazy Steve as much. You always see Rosemary. All of this revolves around Rosemary. What do you think about Rosemary?
I think that she's extremely talented. I think that she understands business, and the proper business for her is there at Impact. I think that she is definitely a Hall of Famer when it's all said and done there at Impact. And, do you think about Decay? Look at like the groups there that have came through. If you go back, Decay was probably the longest running, right?
I don't know about longest running, but
I mean,
it definitely
like
had an impact because it just started as like a novelty type thing. It's like, let's put these people together and they'll do something cool, but it's been long running. They are always
I think
like
the best
reinventing
thing that they
themselves.
did there was put Abyss with them. Is put him as part of that group.
Yeah, I tell you what, I hated though. To this day, I hate it
When they took the
is
mask
they took
off.
the mask off of him, and I know that obviously that sometimes you want to reinvent yourself, you want to show that you can do other things, but when they took that mask off, I was just like, come on, man. That mask makes him like a monster, a star. When the mask is off, it's just. I remember he came to our show and he said, "I know what you guys might say." If you guys want the mask, I've got it with me. It's like, yes, please.
I tell you though, but like he's so good at doing all kinds of shit. You remember Joseph Park?
Yeah, it was hit and miss, but it was definitely another chance for him to show outside of his wheelhouse, and a lot of people are still very entertained by it.
And then he was.
I liked him as what we knew him as before he even got there, as Prince Justice. He was a star. He always carried himself as a star.
He was always that guy on the indie show.
If there was anything that you can say about him, is he's too kind and too giving, and he'll bump all over the place for everybody.
Yeah, I always enjoyed times with Abyss, man. He's super nice. Again, he was my hand in. He was my open door. Not open door, but like he was my, hey, come hang out, come meet everybody.
Yeah, tell us about that relationship with Abyss, because obviously at one point in time we're fans in the crowd and we're watching him, and people are chanting Blueberry, and we know him from that aspect. But what was it like the first time that you got to get into the ring with him and share a ring and start to form that relationship?
You're kind of intimidated by him at first because he's that fucking good. He has that level of respect from everyone, and you don't want to be a fucking idiot. You don't want to be that guy that don't know how to talk to the upper, level talent or whatever. But really and truly, I got to know him whenever Chris would run those. Like, remember he would do like Owenton and like Sand Gaps and things like that. And
really big sideshows.
And he would have like Justice come in. And some of the times Justice would be off, a big heavy plane run or some kind of big stretch of matches that he's, he didn't just wrestle. Like he would wrestle, but then he would do like fucking hardcore, like get split open. And, he was never one to shortchange. But
no, he's so giving with his body and with his style that even up to the very last part of his career when he had to slow down a little bit because of the wear and tear on his body.
And I remember
he still wanted to give everything he had and always was like, that was good, right?
I remember particularly like Chris, he said, I have Abyss in a singles match, but I know that he's banged up and I'm going to put him in the tag match, even though he don't want to, do it. He don't want to do it. He'll want to do the singles, but I'm going to, whatever. So, came in and I got to like do the work, hot tag to him. We were heels, but he helped me understand how, because I was saying things, like doing things. He's like, oh, I don't think you should do that there, And from there, I'd see him at the shows, and obviously Chris was pushing me at the time, and he would talk to me and guide me and help me. And then the biggest thing about the Abyss is when we become really close friends is when my first marriage ended. And I remember Majors and Daryl went up to an NWF show, and he had asked where I was because I was usually with them. And he had told him that I was getting divorced, that my marriage has ended, this, that, and another. And he immediately got Daryl to give him my cell phone number. And I remember getting this like Cincinnati area code or whatever, and I like hit the old kayfabe button. I don't know who it was. I didn't care to talk to anyone at the time, And then after about the third call in 5 minutes, he sends me a text. He was like, "It's Justice, motherfucker, answer." And then he called again. And then he was like, "Hey, man, I just wanted to call and check on you. I heard that your wife and you were going through some bad times. I just want you to know I'm care about you. This is my personal cell phone number. Call me, reach out anytime you need to talk." And about, as busy as he was, about once a month, man, he would take time out and we would text all about 2 or 3 hours throughout the day, or he would call, once a month, and we would just shoot the breeze. And he was just super fucking nice. And I told him, like, I was getting back, because remember, I was like, I'm leaving the business. I'm getting my wife back, this, that, and other. And like, when I got back and he seen that I was booked on the NWF show, he had called me and talked about how happy he was that I got back in. And it was just super, super fucking great. I love that guy.
Yeah, he's so down to earth. Like, so many of the guys that come out of the Northern Wrestling Federation and out of Bone Crushers, Carl Anderson, Abyss, all those guys, if anybody asks me, I just tell them that they don't know how famous they are.
No, they don't.
They never talk to you any different than the way we're talking right now. And they're so humble and they're so grateful. And that's why I'm so happy and proud for those guys. Carl Anderson had a great New Japan run, a WWE run. He's a rock star. He's all over the world. And nobody deserves it more. And look at Justice. He's an Impact Hall of Famer. He has the respect of everybody in this business. And now he's up there and he's got the ear of Triple H. He's got the ear of Vince McMahon. And, he gets to wear that suit and tie and travel around the world. And he doesn't have to take those bumps anymore. And he's so respected and he's so loved, and nobody deserves it more.
No, I agree. They couldn't ask for a better guy. You hear his story, he gave up a 6-figure job to learn to wrestle. He was
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was doing advertising for like one of the hockey teams in Pittsburgh. And he quit his job to go learn to wrestle, and he bet on himself, and it fucking worked.
Not only that, but you're looking at a guy that is so loyal. He has always made it a point to come and help us anytime he can. When we did PTW, he always comes back to Rogers. and
I
does
remember-
the Fan Fest shows, all
I
that
remember he
stuff.
sent me a text. We had a show at 6 o'clock. He sent me a text at noon that said that he was still in a hotel room in Canada because his hip was bothering him so much. And I told him not to worry about it, just to fucking, get home and rest. Believe that he got off the airplane at Cincinnati and came right to Georgetown, Kentucky. He landed at 4 o'clock and he showed up at like 5:30 there at Georgetown Convention. No, not the convention center, but the bingo hall that we did. Sure
Yeah.
did.
And the thing is like, here's a guy that Tommy Dreamer saw him, and he tried to get him to come to the WWE to try to run an angle with The Undertaker. This could have been his big opportunity. He could have worked a WrestleMania match with The Undertaker, and who knows how we would be talking about him now. And this is a guy that stayed with Impact Wrestling, and he stayed there because he's so loyal and he's so humble, and you couldn't ask for a nicer guy.
No, man, I'm so happy for where he's at right now. If anyone deserves it, that guy deserves it, yes.
Yeah, very good guy. I'm so glad that our path crossed with him. You're a lot like him, I feel,
Oh, I
because you
appreciate that, yeah.
you try to give back to so many people, and there's the aura of like, oh, I'm Larry D, I'm a big star.
Yeah.
But anybody that knows you knows that that's not you. That you're just a guy that puts his boots on one foot at a time and tries to give back to the business, and you're doing that over at Legends Pro Wrestling Academy. I hope that anybody that wants to make it in this business seeks out a Bone Crushers, seeks out a Legends Pro Wrestling Academy, because there's still so many good people in this business, and you don't want to go down the easy path. And you don't want to go down the path of somebody that's just looking to take your money, or it's just about the money. Yeah, you might have to work hard. Yes, there may be setbacks, but if you learn one thing from the story that we're telling, all these stories, is that, you're going to get, your life's going to set you back. But keep going forward, because you're going to get whatever you want if you're willing to work hard and keep pushing forward.
It all works out at the end of the day.
That's it. We're going to hit a couple more commercials. We're going to come back. We're going to try to wrap this thing up.
Sounds good to me. Let's do it.
All right, we're back. February 2nd, you had talked about you had a match with Crazy Steve. You actually won that match. You beat Crazy Steve on Impact Wrestling. You went on from there to go to No Surrender, and we had a 6-person tag. So it was you and AC, and you guys teamed with Tennille Dashwood to take on the full combined team of Decay. So you got Black Taurus, you have Crazy Steve, and you have Rosemary. Do you remember anything about those set of matches against Decay and maybe that mixed tag?
I remember having some really good matches with Crazy Steve. Like, we obviously were friends. We had really good chemistry. We worked well together. As far as that mixed tag goes, it really was a very simple, basic mixed tag. I know, it probably appeared bigger than it was. I don't really remember too much of, anything that stood out to me as far as it just being a basic. I think we didn't have very long. Our segment may have been 8-10 minutes total.
Yeah, it was a lot of like what we're getting to here is like you beat Crazy Steve.
Yeah.
Then you guys had the 6-person tag and put them over. I think they were just kind of closing out the angle.
Right.
Because the finale of the angle.
I think it goes back to like you said earlier. It's like you get there, then by the way, you're back to the side, because I think it was more so at that point on Tennille and Rosemary.
Yeah, and like I said, I feel like it was just closing it
Yeah.
out, because the final match in what you would consider the feud, the end of it came not even on an Impact, not on a pay-per-view, not on a special event. It was on Before the Impact.
Right.
It was you guys against Decay, just Crazy Steve and Black Taurus, and you
Mhm.
guys put them over, and that was the end. Like all of this, Who Shot Bravo, everything that you guys had done, Wrestle House, it all ends on a pre-show on the Before the Impact.
Yeah, I mean, it got us there. I guess it got where we needed to be, but then it didn't do anything for us after, I should say. And I guess that's the easiest way to put it without I'm not salty about it. It's just that's where we was at in the company. You know what I'm saying? It was that was our spot. We were
Looking
just
back,
out there.
what do you think about your feud with Decay? Do you think it was just an ends to a mean, or did it mean something to you?
Oh, I think it meant something to me personally, because I was friends with really good friends with the people that I was doing it with. But I knew at the end of the day that it was to we wasn't going past that. I didn't feel like. I guess we're at that point in time in creative of like frustrated. Like you could get something and still like halfway believe like, well, it's not. It's still, we might win this one, but we're going to lose the next 6.
And what was your any like final thoughts on the angle itself with Who Shot Bravo?
Oh, I think it kept me there. I think it kept me there and gave, if nothing else, it gave me hope. That there's still more. I remember having multiple conversations with you, like, well, man, if they want to run with this Lawrence D, let's do it. That puts Larry D on the shelf, and that still makes him relevant when it's time to come back. I felt like it was good. I was excited. And as far as overall, it helped me. It showed that the world that I can be diverse. I can I have range. I can go outside the box a little bit than what you're used to seeing. I think it earned the respect of producers on the backstage side to know that, like, man, he can hit these lines, and man, he can play this part, and he can do kind of what we need to do, moving forward. And as far as where I'm at now and where it was is I feel like going out of there, I can now hit any backstage promo. I can hit whatever I need. I can hit whatever I need. Whatever's asked of me, I comfortably feel that I would be able to do so. Right. As far as that angle as a whole, for Triple XL, I think that we went in as Triple XL and we came out as Triple XL, still on the losing side.
How do you feel people will remember that angle, or do you feel like it's going to become one of those things that's forgotten over time?
No, I don't think it will be forgotten, because I think that it got over. I think it's one of those, like, it's just a rememberable part of Impact Wrestling was Wrestle House, and it was something that I'm blessed to be a part of. It was something that I'm happy to know that years from now, you might not be able to go. You probably have to find my matches. You might have to dig a little deeper years from now, but I don't think you'll have to search very hard to find Wrestle House 1 and 2 if you want to see me on there.
Yeah, we know that this is the last time that we're going to see Lawrence D until we get to the next season of Wrestle House. We know that from this point, the Decay feud is over. Lawrence D is on the shelf until they need him again.
Yep.
It's back to that Triple XL mean tag team. Some big matches are coming up, but that'll probably be a story for another day. But what I want to also make sure is there anything that you want to say? There was a huge internet fan base. There was a swelling of support for Larry D, for Lawrence D. So what do you have to say to all of your fans out there who supported you throughout the Impact Wrestling, and specifically through this run where they were excited that they were seeing Lawrence D, they were excited they were seeing Larry D on their TV, and that they wanted more, that they were ready for it? What do you say to all those fans who supported you?
I say thank you, because those fans kept me pushing in the gym. Those fans kept me going late at night, and just seeing them appreciate what I was doing, not only in the ring, but at home as well, was far bigger payoff than any kind of monetary that I could get. Because I had people on Twitter, DMing me, and people on Facebook tagging me and posts about, man, I see Larry Jones out here, killing it and doing this, and it's got me started in my own journey. And then you see them, they're progressively tracking their success, and I didn't do it for them. I simply was just doing it myself, and they motivated them to where they feel like they owe me a thank you, and they don't owe me nothing. I thank them for allowing me to continue to push and continue to want to be the best. I still want to be the very best. I still want all those things in life. I want to motivate, and I want to continue to help others, and I can't do that without support of that I've had. I've been blessed to have such a tremendous support system, over all of this. And I can't thank everybody enough for what they've done and motivated and allowed me to achieve.
Do you want to take this time publicly? There's lots of people that listen to this. We're on Spotify. We're on YouTube. I hope that people are, giving it a like. I hope they're giving it a share. Subscribe. Hit that bell icon to never miss an episode. But in front of all these people, in front of God Almighty, do you want to take this time to apologize to Johnny Bravo for what you did? Do you feel bad for what you did to Johnny Bravo?
I don't feel bad. Like I can't feel bad because I didn't shoot him.
Well, you did shoot him.
Lawrence D shot him.
Well, you are Lawrence D.
I don't recall that.
Oh, wow. That's plead the fifth, right?
Yeah, man.
But something we won't be pleading the fifth on is coming up next, right after these last commercial breaks. It's Ask Larry Anything. We're going to get those fan questions out of the way.
You know about these commercial breaks, though, man? We need some more. We need some more supporters.
Oh, man, I would love to get
Where's
sponsors.
these local businesses at that we talk about? Where's these sponsors at? Let's
not just
help
sponsors,
spread
but
the word.
Partners.
Yeah, that's it.
Be a part of this experience. Be a part of this show. Be a part of me, Maxx A Mic, because there's lots of ears on it, and I would love for each and every one of them to hear about your local business and to come visit you and say, hey, I heard about it on the podcast. We'll be right back after these few words.
Some creepy guy is stalking you in the parking garage at 3 a.m., but you're not worried because you have a Bright for War Industries knife strapped to your belt. Don't be a victim in this crazy world. Protect yourself. Carry a knife made by Bright for War Industries. It may save your life. Hi, this is Josh for Bright for War Industries. I'm a professional knife maker with 15 years experience. If you're looking for a unique gift or a high-performance piece of cutlery for the kitchen, the field, or for personal protection, look no further. Look for me on Instagram at Bright for War.
All right, we are back with Ask Larry Anything. I want to encourage all the fans, make sure that you're sending those questions in because we will actually answer anything that you send us. And, that can be a scary thought because, we don't hold back. So I've got a couple questions here. Jose wants to know, when did we realize that Everything Legendary was the perfect tag team?
Whenever we started knocking motherfuckers out. No, I mean, it was just, it's a good time, man. You got to vibe with someone. You got to have, someone that you're comfortable with to have just the same amount of fun genuinely as you are. And that's what we do when we're out there.
I really feel like that we grew together as a team too and became much more natural. The whole initial thought process behind it was that, you were a name in our company. I was a name in our company. I'm not saying on a big
PTW.
scale, but right there in PTW. But you can't always be on top of the card. Some people always want to be, the champion, or they always want to be on top. The initial idea was, hey, we've got to push up from underneath. We've got to build stars. So what can we do so that we're not in a main event, that we're not in a mid-shield or a mid-angle? And the initial idea was, okay, well, if we are on a team, if we do tag team matches, even just a couple, that puts us in a tag match. That's one match, and that leaves 4 or 5 other matches that other people can be in, and especially towards like the top end of the card. It was just a means to an end to get us out of bigger angles and top angles and give us something to do where we're there, people see us, and it's a poster draw, but that it's not that that we either one of us have to be in the main event. Neither one of us have to work for a championship. Initially, as a team, we weren't even going to work against the tag team champions.
No.
We weren't going to do any of that. We were just going to be on the show. And it's like, hey, there they are. You want to see them? They're together and they're in one match. Here's 4 or 5 others.
Now you're out.
And it was only through there was some personal stuff going on with the tag team champions at the time, and they needed somebody to work with, and obviously the tag titles had to go on a team we knew would be there. And it also is usually with the tag teams, you're going to go have a second or third spot unless it's a huge angle that pushes it towards the main event. So it kept us relevant without us having to be in the top spot. I always believe in building the future.
No, I agree. And that's what of course, that's what we're built on, is building the future, The future is us because we can keep building it.
That's it. But, and in the process of that, too, like, we became a heck of a tag team. Like,
I
I think
agree.
we fired off for a very long time and had some really good matches. His follow-up question is, what was your very favorite Everything Legendary match? I guess a tag team match.
Oh,
I know mine while you're thinking. My mom had died, and we did the
this is the
benefit
Friday
show.
night that we worked against Brandon Taggart and Austin Tyler
Yes,
Morris.
it
That was
was-
absolutely the very best match that we have.
So good, and obviously I look at it with rose-colored glasses because everybody's there, and they were giving me so much love, and I get goosebumps just thinking about it. I had some of my. I'm not a huge star, and, in this area. I do pretty well for myself, and I've went outside the area, but I'm not a huge wrestling star. I'm not signed to Impact Wrestling. I'm not signed to the WWE. I'm just me, and I do pretty good with that, and I help to build the future. But I've had killer matches with you.
Yeah.
We had a match, the very first match when we opened our own building. In Paris.
Yeah,
and we were
I
the very
slammed the
first
gout
match.
out of you.
Yeah, but it was a very good match. I always say I wish I could take the knowledge I have now and go back in time and have the knowledge I have now and apply it to those matches, because even the ones that are good, you look back and go, ooh, but if we'd done this.
Right, yeah.
But two of the guys that we talk about building like the younger talent and taking guys that are at the bottom of the card and watching them progress. There's no better story for my, backstage life, for my creative life. If I have to put my stamp on one thing, it's seeing a guy like Austin Tyler Morris. It's seeing a guy like Brandon Taggart and watching them come from, Austin Tyler Morris was Mark Morris's son. He was in the crowd. He's just this little skinny kid. Brandon Taggart's packing his gear in a Papa John's bag.
Yeah, man.
Guy, he's waving an American flag, and they're working each other in flag matches on like first and second.
I think it just tells you, like, when you care about the business and you care about people, it's easy to help them. Look at Brandon Taggart. I told you, I was like, man, I like that guy. I don't know what I like about him, but I like him.
I'm telling you.
And then we took him, and you took him, and you made him creatively.
And it's not just, when you say that, people are like, oh, that's cocky.
Yeah, no.
No, I mean, I had a creative vision.
Yeah.
And I had I put the pieces in place, but it was their hard
Some
work. It
people
was their
just need
dedication.
a little extra guidance,
And
man.
they had it, though.
Yeah.
They just needed somebody to believe in them and put them in those
Of
positions.
course.
There were so many guys that just, they didn't see it. They don't want to give up those top spots, and you have to.
I tagged with a guy one
future.
time that refused to go to Indiana because he thought that we was going to put young kids over.
You got to build it.
I went on to get a singles run from there and be the world champ 4 or 5 times.
Got you one step closer to your dream.
It did.
But that match that I remember is that match with us against them.
I agree. I think that was probably the best.
At the time, ATM is a hot babyface. Brandon Taggart is a hot
We always
heel,
wanted to run that one
we
again, and we
teamed
never
that.
got the chance.
Man, they were so good as a team, but individually. I've had some of my best matches in my entire career against those two guys. I used to joke with both of them that they were feuds that would never end because we would wrestle 1,000,000 times, and every time it was so good.
You and Taggart have some good stuff.
Me and Taggart, for everything that I did to help build him up the card and make him, in my opinion, I hate to say make him, it's help him become the greatest primetime wrestling heavyweight champion of all time.
Well, I mean, it's okay to say make, because you as the veteran knows, like, man, I know this is, he don't see this now.
But it's his hard work, man.
Of
this
course,
guy here
100%.
went to Evolve.
He's one of the best big men that have
place.
came through here in the last 2 decades. I'll say that.
The saddest thing for me is looking at a wrestling landscape now and not seeing
There's not
Austin
many
Tyler
Brandon Taggarts out there.
Not just seeing any. I don't see I don't see Brandon Taggart.
No.
And I don't see ATM, and it's
Right.
so they owed themselves.
I'll
so
tell you who's coming
much
along
more.
that reminds me a lot of ATM is Gaston LaRue. He's just got his Generation Next world title here, his heavyweight title. He's got like three
He's
belts
got
now.
titles all over the world. He's going to wrestle for a tag team championship. He's the AWA champion, the Supreme champion. Now he's the Generation Next Pro
Good for
Wrestling
him.
heavyweight champion.
He's working hard, man.
Yeah, I'm excited to see where he goes, and I'm so happy whenever I talk about those matches with like ATM and Brandon Taggart because they are still very talented. I have no doubt that they could come back
They could go
and
out
fire
here tomorrow and
just
get
as
down.
hard. And it means a lot to talk about those guys. And if for some reason you don't know who those guys are,
Look 'em up.
look them up. Look up those matches. Message me. I'll sure send them to you.
Yeah.
So that wraps up that set of questions. There is a fan question just out there. They didn't leave their name. They sent it anonymously, and they wanted to know, how do you feel is, or what do you feel is the difference between TNA wrestling? So like the Jeff Jarrett Impact or TNA, you got the Asylum years. Obviously, they also say here to reflect on like the Kurt Angles, the Kevin Nashes, the Christian Cages, that era of Impact Wrestling and the era of Impact Wrestling that you were a part of and maybe that is now. Like, what's the difference between the old school idea of, we'll just call it TNA, and the new vision of Impact Wrestling?
I think the biggest difference is just like the networks alone of like the eyes on the product. I feel like, TNA was there, like they had Kurt Angle, they had everything that you would do, and I feel like if they still have super talented wrestlers down there, but I feel like their problem has always been, getting the eyes on the product because they jump around a lot of networks and such. But if you remember when TNA first started, you could come home from school on Friday and watch Fox Sports Net, and there they was, and then they got those Monday night slots, which I didn't think was the best for them, but it was on Spike, and then they moved to those Thursdays. And when they was on like Spike TV, man, it was very easy, very accessible to watch. Now I feel like you have to search a little bit, to find it, as opposed to when you just go on Spike TV and click it on the channel,
Yeah, I talked to a guy and he said, it's so funny because back in the day, like the Meltzers and the fans would look at the Impact ratings when they had like Kurt Angle and Kevin Nash and all that, and they would laugh. They're like, oh, look, those are horrible ratings compared to WWE. And now when you compare those ratings to what they do now, it's like, God, I wish we could go back to those days.
Right.
We were killing it. It was fire.
Yeah, I think it just boils down to just having the right eyes on it. I mean, we're lazy as people. People in general are lazy, and if they can't click their remote to the channel, then they're more than likely not going to search it unless they're like die hard fans.
How would Larry D have fared in that Jeff Jarrett TNA?
I think I would fare just as good as any time. I feel like at any given time I could wrestle any era. I feel like given the proper opportunity that I would strive and succeed just like I would then or now.
If you had to pick one opponent from the old school TNA, who would it be?
Abyss.
Abyss.
Yes.
You've worked him 100 times, but
Abyss.
you want the big the
because
spotlight for
I
him.
know that we would be on when it mattered. I'd wrestled him so much, but when it really truly mattered, when the biggest red light that's ever been on us would be there, and I would have the opportunity to know that like I could have a flawless fucking match on that scale, I'd want to look across from Abyss. Is
Impact still what it used to be?
I feel like it is. I feel like the goal has always been to be the very best. I feel like the path to get there might be a little rougher for one or the other, but either way, I feel like the goal is to be the very best. So I would say it is. I think I would like to think any company would want to strive to be the best.
Taylor wants to know, you talk about your camps, your training school. He said, have you ever seen anybody walk into your camp, and more importantly, like Legends Pro Wrestling Academy, and you look at them day one and oh my God, this is a star? Has anybody ever walked in and right then and there that you've got a star on your head?
Yeah, there's been a few. We talk about it all the time. The problem is when they appear to be a star and they walk in, and the thing is when the hard work starts, and the worst part is like you have people that know that they have something behind them coming in, so it's harder to teach them because they have it in their head that they already have it, if that makes sense, But just like we always say, everyone's on equal ground. I don't care if you are, way terribly out of shape, or you've got yourself in tip top shape, you guys still start on the same level ground and you earn your respect the same way.
Who is the biggest star that you feel you've developed, helped a hand in developing, or that you feel like with the proper coaching and the proper motivation will be that future star? I know that you talked about Kellen Craven, but is there anybody else?
I mean, overall, there is one guy that I feel that I had a hand in mentoring that could have been really, really big and really something was Big Matt from up in northern, Big Cuz. I think whenever Big Cuz was active in the ring and coming down on those Sundays and working out with us, and he was hopping in the car with me and going across the states with us and stuff like that, I wish that he was, unfortunately, the concussion thing cut him short, but I wish that he was still, had that time that's missed here. I think that if he had still been in, he didn't have that unfortunate. He put the proper efforts in, and he continued to train and hit the gym and do everything. I think that he could be big money one day.
A random fan sent in a question. Why do people, especially in North America, shit on Kenny Omega?
I think it's because they just don't understand. I think it's one. You have people like to listen to the Cornette episodes, and then they fucking hate him. And then you got the people that fucking love him. I think it boils down to just, if you don't like what you like, you don't like what you like. If
we
you
talked
like
about you don't like it, just turn it off.
Right, it's wrestling. I like to fucking mix my cereal to the right. My wife likes to mix hers to the left. It is what it is. It's not for everyone. And I think it's one of those things of like your opinion, even though you understand it. Well, I'm gonna go off of your opinion because you're the expert. So people that listen to the experts on, say, podcasts or these vlogs or whatnot, they have the same opinion because they're getting it from their source of information. Is like, fuck that guy. And then if you listen to the other side, it's like, that's fucking amazing. Did you see that guy, how fucking talented he is? He went out there with that fucking blow up doll in front of the fucking world and had a hell of a match with it.
Would Larry D work a blow up doll?
Oh, fuck yeah, if it pays right.
Wow, what, you think you could beat it?
No,
according to if it's on Impact.
Try my best. Yeah.
So I have a string of questions here from Logan. But before his questions start, I had told you before the show, Logan had sent me a personal message early this morning, and he wanted to thank us for doing this show. I talk about it every week. We do it for the fans. We hope that they're enjoying it as much as we enjoy doing it. And he said that it is his Friday night fix.
Good.
When he's at work on Friday, he loves to just turn it on, let it play, and listen to the stories of everything legendary. Mr. Everything Max Sledd, Larry D, right here on Me, Maxx A Mic.
Man, I appreciate that. That's a big, huge shout out to Logan right there, because that's what I like to hear after doing this, after 4 or 5 episodes in, is that people are actually listening and people care. And, if anything, keep sharing. Keep telling the people, hey, man, this is every Friday. I'm hooked on this shit. I love this, share it to your friends and let people know about it. And man, I can't tell you how much that means to me to hear that, like, you dedicate the hour or 2 hours every Friday, and it helps us get you through it. It helps you get through that shift. And that means the world to me. It really does.
Logan wants to know, what match made you Larry fucking D?
I believe it was down in Jeffersonville when me and fucking Gary J were just having a brutal war, because in St. Louis it's Gary fucking J, Well, in Indiana we went there and just beat the tar out of each other, and it was like split crowd, and they had the Gary fucking J, and then all of a sudden the other crowd's like, fuck you, Larry fucking D, and then it just caught on to even where it caught down in St. Louis, in Gary's hometown there, and respectfully, he was happy for me, because he knows the crowd and the respect level that they have. Really cool.
How does it feel when you're in there and you're getting that response to where, hey, we are working the emotions, we're telling the story, but how does it feel when you get that reaction and it takes you to that place to where it's like, God, this is why I love it.
I feel like I'm in the middle of my people. I know that's crazy to say, but like, I just feel like it's like, these are my fucking people right here. And it's fucking, I feel like we're just vibing, right? We're at a party, we're vibing. I'm in the fucking ring. They're getting, Larry fucking D, it hypes me up, man. Well, like, I feel like that's my connection with them.
You've always had the connection, like you just said. So before you went to Impact, it was sign Larry D.
Yeah.
Sign Larry D. And then once you're there and you're their guy, it's Larry fucking D. you know? And then in the places to where they may not use that language, it's the Larry D. heavy.
The last TV that I did for Impact, they had a Larry fucking D chant in the crowd.
That's got to make you proud.
Yeah, man, it was really cool.
How's the bar coming along? That's his second question.
The bar's going great, man. We've got so much. Actually, I'm getting out of here today, and I'm going to go look at that calendar. We've got so much stuff coming up. This weekend coming, I know for a fact, on Friday, we got 80s and 90s night, man. They come up, and everyone dresses up in their best 80s and 90s dress, and, we're celebrating Dana's birthday.
Come on buy Dana a drink.
Yeah, man, we got all kinds of new drinks in there. There's a drink called the Tropical Paradise. There's a drink called the China. And
Suicide Dives.
The Suicide Dives, and we got beer specials. And, Saturday, there's a rod run down here all day. And SkullFace Records and Sin City Live has helped put together this huge all-day event where you got bands playing from noon until midnight. And it's headlined by a local Mike Jones. Very good, talented guy.
What is your pre-match routine? Like before you fire up, some guys, they go sit and they listen to music, or, they got to tape up and they got to be left alone. What is the Larry D pre-match routine?
I don't have one. After all these years, I literally am, you've seen it. I sit there and talk to you about fucking nonsense, and we laugh.
I watched you Sunday just sit there and talk about everything but wrestling.
Yeah. And then, I'm usually sitting there and I'm talking to you right now, and then all of a sudden Miley Cyrus will hit, and they're like, well, your music's playing. Like, I know, man. I just go pop out the curtain and do my thing. It's
What's
like
that reaction in some of those towns when they say, hey, can I get your music? And you tell them that you're coming out to Miley.
They start to laugh. They're like, really? And I was like, yeah, man, you'll see it when it all comes together. But man, I used to have that custom intro. Shout out to Money Moon. He did great on 2 of my custom intros. But my wife, Paige, originally, she'll put me over here, I guess, because I have to admit, she originally was going to use Heart of Glass. And then she was torn between Heart of Glass and Midnight Sky. So she chose Midnight Sky, and I went with Heart of Glass. And I'm glad I made that choice. It just makes me vibe. I'm not, I don't have to play. I can be me whenever I come to the ring. And when you see Larry D come to the ring and Miley Cyrus, and I got my wife there with me, that's me in the flesh, baby. If you want to get to know who I am, that's me. That's who I am.
Well, we talked about, I think especially last week, that sometimes you like to be Larry D.A.D.
Yeah.
And one of the things that you like to do outside of wrestling is that it's hashtag grill dads.
Yeah, man.
And you all get out there and you get to grilling. So this is a grilling question. Are you a charcoal guy or are you a propane guy?
Well, without a shadow of a doubt, I am a charcoal guy. I've never owned a gas grill in my life, and I refuse to buy it. It's to me, I lead such a busy life, and whenever I get the opportunity to grill, I like the idea of stacking the charcoals and putting the fucking liquid on there and letting it set for 5-10 minutes, and then waiting 30 minutes for the coals to get orange, and then I get to rock and roll.
I like it when we get a nice little beer buzz and we just sit there and look at the fire.
Man, we used to sit all day, didn't we?
I tell you, it was a good time. It's just like anything else. You don't appreciate it as much in the moment because it's like we're doing this all the time, and then it's over, and you're like, God, I wish that you still live one street over.
I got a grill in the RV just to grill, just so I know I'm fucking grilling all weekend every time.
Man, I'm so excited to hear about that because you've now told me that when we do Bar Brawl that you're going to put me up in the finest establishment. You're going to let me sleep in the RV overnight before I come and help watch people put a ring up.
Well, I always try to put you up. I try to put you in the finest of places, and I know that you live out of city, so I always try to hey, man, you've worked your way up. You're in the office now.
Sleep in my RV.
Sleep in my honeymoon suite. Make sure you bring your own sheets.
What is your? Oh my God! What? You got me off guard there. You popped me. Somewhere Randy Savage is getting ready to bust in right now because I laughed off cue. Anyway. Other than the matches that you have discussed previously on the podcast, are there any other dream matches that Larry D just has to have, past, present, or future?
Golly, man. I mean, I want them with all of them, I'd have to really think on that one and bring it to you next week because I don't want to injustice that answer.
Yeah, I know that you said that they still, we're waiting. Who is the guy that's going to give you Josh Alexander?
I know. I want Josh Alexander. Give me Josh Alexander.
Who's going to give you Moose?
Please. I want them all. I'm telling you, man, there's so much good to be done there.
Man, I tell you what, I just want to see Larry D. You know what I really want to see? I want to see Larry D versus Trevor Murdoch.
Yes. Now, that would be amazing there that I've got my toes wet there at the NWA. I think
Let's touch on that just for a second. Let's not go too in detail, but here recently you were on NWA Power and you faced former NWA heavyweight champion Tim Storm. Tell us about it, man.
Yeah, man, I went down. It was there at Skyway Studios, the same place that I was familiar with at Impact Wrestling.
Home sweet home for you.
Home sweet home. It was like coming home again. And I tell you, I absolutely loved the vibe of the NWA. If you've not watched the NWA, I suggest go find them on Twitter and hit that follow.
You can watch it on Fight, YouTube.
Yeah,
and
go follow
605,
them.
that's their time.
605
just like
on the NWA
days.
Power. And man, just coming to the ring and like you come out the curtain and you look to your left and there's the podium and you see like, man, that's the same shit, fucking Dusty and Flair. And everyone used to cut those promos there. Then you see that denim and yellow and you're like, man, this is really fucking cool. Like it was definitely an honor to be in there and even more so with their former world champion.
It's great. And you know that you made a big statement. I hear that Billy Corgan was very excited to meet you before you left.
Yeah, he shook my hand and told me he thanked me for coming back or for coming down there, and that hopefully we can get back together again. So
I think right now, I think we put you on the spot and we ruin any opportunity for you to go back down there. Tell us your opinion of the Smashing Pumpkins.
The world is a vampire.
That it is. And here's our final question
right.
of the show. They want to know, what was the most knowledgeable thing that you've learned in the wrestling business? And what is the best piece of advice that you give to somebody as soon as they enter the wrestling business?
The most knowledgeable thing that I have learned is to always get your facts straight. You know, a lot of times that when you're around an industry of going around and you know, you hear a lot of incorrect things about individuals and then you have an opinion of them. So when you meet certain said individuals, then you already have a negative outlook on them. And to never, ever just judge someone just on mere fact of what someone else has told you. So, I think that's one of the biggest things that I have learned because for so long I was guided not to go certain places, don't do certain things on mere opinion from other people. And then when I went and found those things out for myself, I realized, well, it's nothing like what they said. My advice for someone to come into wrestling would be to make sure that this is what you want to do. You know, you're going to invest a lot of time, effort, money. You're going to argue with your spouse. You're going to argue with your family. You're going to miss some certain things, and you're going to have to explain those, justify missing those. And it's all hard to do for wrestling. It's hard to explain, like, why you do it for wrestling, but your family doesn't.
You can never explain it. We talk about it every single week. It's the Jeff Jarrett rule. If you love it, no explanation is needed. And
once
if you
it
don't,
bites you, you're hooked. Yeah,
no
man,
explanation will
it's true.
do.
It is true. And especially even more so when you find out that you can make it a living.
So that's going to wrap up this week. We'll come back next week, and we're going to be in episode 5. It is part 5 of the Making an Impact series. This one is entitled The End of the Road. Oh. We're going to be wrapping up the Impact series.
Although we've done. No, we're good, man. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited to talk about it.
Hey, that's it. So we're wrapping up for tonight. Thank you so much for listening to episode 4. Me, Maxx A Mic. We've talked about it all night. Make sure you subscribe, like. If it's on Twitter, retweet it. If it's on Facebook, like it, share it. Go to Spotify. Go to YouTube. Anywhere you find me, Maxx A Mic, make sure you subscribe, like, share it to your friends. Send in your questions, and we can't do this without each and every one of you. So tune in next week. Keep spreading the love, and remember, this is the only podcast that is truly everything
legendary.
That's it. We're going to hit the road. Thanks so much for listening. Good night.
Have a great week.